what is the best idea that you can work on? How to select the best idea? Should you go for an AI startup? Should you go for something that you're really good at right now? Should you rather focus and learn a totally new segment, a totally new technology? These are the questions we're going to be answering today. Hi, my name is Oggy Vasilev, and I make these videos for people who want to build and grow their business and themselves. I spent more than a decade at leading companies such as Boston Consulting Group, Accenture, Salesforce, and right now I'm mentoring some of the future leaders at incubators such as the Harvard Business School, Technical University of Munich, and also back in my home country, Bulgaria. So today we want to talk about the different ways to select an idea and now what should be the very base. So today we want to talk about selecting the right idea and how to make sure that this idea is really going to be successful. Today we're talking about the idea. There is another video where we're talking about you being successful in the idea that you select. But first of all, I wanted to talk about how do we make sure that this is a very good and very hot idea. Right, many of us are tempted to jump into the latest trend. Years ago, it was NFTs. Nowadays, it seems to be AI, machine learning, all of these hot topics. Some of us are still going for more traditional businesses, such as a bakery, a zero waste cafe. It could be anything. It could be a travel agency. All of these are great ideas, right? Now, the question is, how do we select the right one and how do we make sure that we build a business that's serving our purpose? So number one here, and I'm sorry to disappoint, but like the answer would be very, let's say, vague. It will be always depending on what you want to do. So imagine right now you want to optimize your financial situation, for example, and you want to do it or you have to do it as soon as possible. So most probably in that case, you don't want to build some IT product for the next 2, 3, 4 years, and then do a lot of investment, a lot of expansion, a lot of client chasing, and at the end start seeing money in a couple of years from now. Most probably you can also open a very simple business such as a massage studio or a bakery, and you can start generating flows, or like even better, you can do consulting or an agency and you'll start generating, maybe you even have some prepayment. On the other hand, if you want to do something huge, something big, a business that's going on its own and so on, most probably it will take some time. So you need the patience. Some of you might also be going for a social business, and that's totally fine. You're not really interested in the profit. You just you want to serve a cause. You want to help many people. That's an amazing thing, and that's totally fine. And that will be making you selecting other parameters when you decide, right? So that's what we want to look into. First of all, I happened to be at the demo day of the HBS, Harvard Business School, a couple of months ago, and I was able to see more than 50 different startups pitching. It was really exciting, very talented people with very good ideas coming from very different backgrounds, and each of them had a very solid and good plan on how to change the world in one or another way, right? Like tackling a different problem. I don't want to give away too much from it, but in a second you're going to see the video. But generally, like, there were really business ideas about anything. Like, there were very digital businesses, very AI based, very AI driven, and also there were businesses that were still brick and mortar. So as you can see, there are many ways, it can be always exciting to start something and to have something going on. So what I'll do now is I'll let you watch this short segment from the video. I apologize for the noise, right? I really wanted to do it as authentic as it's possible. So you'll see some strong wind. There might be a little bit noise if we don't manage to remove it with the team here. But I think what's important here is the knowledge. So enjoy the video, and I'll see you here in a bit.
Two very interesting trends that I believe many of us are not really thinking about enough are the boomers trend. So, we are all the time saying that there is aging of the population, people are living always longer and so on. And if you think about it, it is a challenge for elderly people to use technologies, right? Like, not for all of them, but for many of them, it is a challenge. So many of the startups were focusing on allowing or enabling elderly people to catch up with technology. And when I say elderly, I mean even some people that are our age, right? Like, even if you're in your 30s or 40s, you might have problems differentiating between Snapchat, Twitch, or any other application, and knowing when to use what and how to use and what to use it for, right? And it was exciting to see how many people are thinking of how they can improve the people, how they can improve the life of senior people who are actually struggling with using technology, right? And then the second trend that I found really exciting is infrastructure. So everyone's excited about AI, how it's going to change our life and so on. But AI comes with many challenges, right? Like we still need to build infrastructure for it. What I mean with that is AI comes with obligations for compliance. So every country is trying to regulate it in one way or another, and companies will have to deal with that. Also, AI comes with processing large amount of data. So it is an issue how you make sure that the data that's being processed is correct, that you have the right to process this data, and so on. And then other things such as identity checks and so on, right? Like, so these are processes that companies will always have to do. And the question is, how do we optimize that? How do we make this more efficient? So if you look, for example, why do I find the infrastructure topics that exciting? So first of all, if you look into the different regulated markets, then apparently if you're operating in a regulated market, you are more likely to pay a premium for accuracy of the data, right? Like, for example, if you're banks or insurance companies, you cannot allow yourself to have a solution that works only 80% of the time, right? Like you are expected and you are monitored if everything that you do is 100% correct and 100% compliant. So these are actually very good clients with stable businesses that might purchase your solution, especially if it's going to the infrastructure. And talking about purchasing solutions, a second trend that's really exciting about the infrastructure part is that most of the customers are completely inbound, right? So there is a limited number of solutions that tackle topics of compliance, of quality of data, and so on. So if you're offering one of these solutions, chances that large companies reach out to you in the search of a solution for their business are very high, right? So that allows you to quickly get into additional revenues and then kind of build a stable business that you can then scale and grow. And then the third one would be many of these companies or startups that were focusing on infrastructure, they could easily get into the multi-million ARRs even before they have hired anyone, right? So if it's a team of 2 or 3 founders, they might already be getting millions of revenues just because of these inbound leads and this acute need for regulated companies or regulated sectors to come up with solutions for tackling the AI topic. And then maybe several insights on the pricing model, right? So pricing models were very different. Some companies would go for a consultancy, so they build a solution, but they prefer to consult customers and use the solution in-house. Others would rather try to package it as a software, different licensing models. Some companies were also saying, okay, we're a little bit too early. We're still trying to figure out the right solution, and later we'll find out how we sell it. I think that's okay in a significantly early stage. But I think whenever you can, it's good to think of the right pricing structure as early as possible so that you can also experiment with it and you can find out if you are somehow leaving money on the table. And then if you look into the growth and go-to-markets that founders were approaching, like the different ways founders were approaching growth and go-to-market, then many founders were very strategic about it. Right. So what that means is that in particular sectors, it might seem counterintuitive that with a technological solution that's very horizontal, it could tackle any industry, they would rather go for a particular sector. But it actually makes sense because if you think about where are the largest gaps between how big is the need and how expensive are the resources to cover the need, there might be potential sectors where entry as a startup is much faster and easier than if you would go for a mainstream industry that everyone or every founder is trying to tackle, right?
Okay, so hopefully by now you saw that there are these 3 main factors that I define as very important for selecting the right idea that you want to work on. So first of all, we had this level of ambition, right? Like where you're really excited, where your let's say your blood starts stirring, and you're saying, "Well, I'm really going to like this is going to be amazing. This is going to be huge." And this is kind of the level of ambition you want to have. And if you don't have that, or if you don't feel that with a particular idea, maybe it's not the right idea. It could be like a secondary idea that you're thinking of. It could be that you have other reasons for it being exciting. Maybe you just think it's easy, maybe you think it's your thing, but if it's really not getting you excited and passionate about, I would say maybe you should try to prioritize other ideas. Then the second thing we said is real problems. Like whenever you're solving a real problem, you'll never have any problem with finding customers, finding money, finding financing, finding even employees to work on that, right? Like whenever there is a true problem that you're solving. And when I speak of true problems, let me give you some examples, right? So it becomes more clear. For example, true problem would be any company needs some accounting services, right? Like you are obliged to do that. I talked in the video about compliance. Compliance is something that you really you have to do, right? Like especially the bigger the organization is, the more compliant it should be, the more checks it gets, and so on. So that's definitely a real need. Another need would always be, for example, employee training, development, motivation, assessment, and so on. These are needs that you really have. Another, let's try to name a negative example. And again, I don't want to put anyone down, or I don't want to be like giving examples, but maybe there are I talked to one of the mentors, by the way, and he mentioned that there are kind of three types of ideas. There are ideas like that are more like oxygen, everyone needs it to breathe. There are others that are more like a pill that you need it whenever you have pain. And then there are other luxury items, right? And so most of the time the luxury items are maybe the biggest to pull off, the hardest to pull off. So you need to be very careful when you select this type of an idea, because it could be that you're assuming market needs, market segments, and so on that actually don't exist, or that will take a lot of time to convert and to win on your side. Like that, for example, imagine like travel in space, where like I know it's exciting, I know there are first attempts and so on, but most probably if you really wanted to make a mass mainstream business out of it, it's going to happen, I'm pretty sure, in many years from now, or maybe they'll surprise us and we'll have it next year. But most probably it's not such a big need. Like it's rather curiosity, or it's like satisfying kind of different need than really like needing to have like to be there in space, right? To see the Earth from space. So I hope that was helpful. The third thing I think is, the third and most important thing that we talked about is expertise. So when you analyze yourself, just think a little bit of what are you good at, what skills do you have. I've seen many, for example, developers who say, okay, I want to learn sales, I want to learn totally new things because I feel I need them in order to start a business. That's amazing, but before you go there, maybe also just think about what are you extremely good at, what is the feedback. Just ask several people around you, right? Like ask them, what do you think I'm good at, what are the skills that you think I really have. And it's ideally they will pay for. And maybe this is the business that you want to start as a first thing, right? Because that's starting a business, and we'll talk about it in a different video, but it's so difficult. There are so many things that you have to do, that I think by starting also in a totally new area where you don't have the contacts, the skill, the knowledge even, that will be very difficult. So ideally choose something that you're really good at. I promise you, or I guarantee you, that running and building up the business will be much easier for you, just because at least you won't have to bother about delivering the service, or like selling and delivering the service. You'll have to bother about all the other things like admin, people management, profit and loss, and everything else, right? So, like I said also in the video, what you can do is reverse order. Start first with analyze yourself. What are you good at? What do you bring to the table? What should your business be about? And don't worry if it's not AI. If you didn't work in the AI area so far, it's totally fine. Just start something else, and I'm sure you'll find a way, or you'll find your way towards AI a little bit later. Then second, think about, are you solving a real problem? And if you're not solving a real problem, I'm not even going to mention it because I think no one will even think about it. But if somehow you're trying to, making damage to society, nature, and so on, just don't go for it, right? Like, I'm sure no one's going to go for it, but just make sure you create real value for society. And the third one is really the ambition, right? Like whenever you feel that you have the passion, that you want to be doing that, that it's really the thing that this time it's going huge, it's going places. That's the idea you should be working on. So I hope that was useful. Like I promised, there will be another video where we'll be talking about how do you make sure you're successful in this idea that you just selected. I hope this was helping you. Again, I'm going to ask you for three things to help me, help yourself, and help someone else. First of all, Share this video with someone who you think needs to hear that. Second, subscribe to this channel. The more subscribers we have, the easier it is to get some of these brilliant people that have so much knowledge to be here, to be our guest, and then we can all learn from them. By the way, talking about special guests, I think I'm mentioning often enough. I hope I'm mentioning often enough. We are doing a very special entrepreneurial conference back in my home country, Bulgaria. It's going to be in November 8th to 11th. And we are actually going to have some of the mentors from the HBS also joining us there for 3 days of learning, inspiration, and networking. So just think about it. Maybe you also want to join us and have some good time there, meet some useful connections, and have more people that you can validate ideas with. And number three, like I said, just from everything we just said, just choose one thing and see if you can apply it to your business. If you're wondering if the idea you're working on is the right one, what you can do is just evaluate it by that. Do you have the right skills? Is the ambition big enough? Are you solving the true problem? And that's how you're going to know that you're actually working on a very good idea. So thank you very much and see you soon.